Got it. Just to let you know that this is being recorded, so be aware of that, please. And I declare the meeting open and welcome you all. Do we have any apologies? No. Okay. I call on any members to declare any conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest?
Hodiadrome from me, thanks.
Okay, Councillor Nixon for Hodiadrome.
And also AMP Association, because I think the dump station's mentioned somewhere too.
Also AMP Association, Sandy?
I have no, I declare conflict of interest with the skate park, so I have no input into that.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, Bex, I've got the AMP as well. David.
Yeah, Councillor Holmes for the AMP Association. Thank you, and we'll move on to apologies. I haven't received any apologies, so we'll move on. There is no public forum today, and there are no late items. So we'll move on to the first report on page 311, which is the Strategic Planning, Infrastructure and Services Update. I'll take the report as read and then move to David Hopman. David, would you like to highlight anything particular in the report? Can't hear you, David.
This is Angela's report. So you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Angela. Is there anything you'd like to highlight in the report?
No, nothing in particular has changed at the moment. Volumes are still quite high through lockdown for consenting, both resource consenting and building consenting. But obviously without inspections, we're managing to put a little bit more effort and time now on just the processing. So we're already thinking of our tactics for what happens when lockdown is lifted and what happens either at level 3 or at level 2. So planning is underway.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Angela from any of the councillors? Councillor Mailman and then to Lynn.
Yeah, Angela, I'm just interested in page 213, Opaki Road, FDA residential zone. On 85 Opaki Road, there's no more capacity for new residential lots. I'm aware that that's in behind that house. And they own all that land between Cashmere Drive and the Cashmere subdivision through to the back end of Miro Street. Is that not suitable for residential property?
Sorry, I'll just jump in there, Fraser. Yes, I'm sorry, that was my mistake. I got 85 Opaki Road and Cashmere Subdivision mutually confused, and I thought they were one and the same thing, but that's me learning about it. You're in fact correct, and 85 Opaki Road still vacant. So that should, so I'll cross out the word no more capacity, so it just does have more capacity.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Your worship.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to pick up the comments on page, I think, 311 and 312. Really good to see the comms going out there about our constraints, and appreciate that it's not just our council, it's right across New Zealand. One of the things I'm interested in, it talks about on the bottom of page 311, trialling remote inspections. So I'd just like to know what other BCAs, and if we could able to follow this up at some stage, what other BCAs are doing around remote inspections, and sort of what criteria they're using to assess, you know, what is a remote location, and what inspections, type of inspections they'd be able to do. And I just wondered if that's possible, if we could do a follow-up on that.
Angela?
Sure. Yeah, no, we'll follow up on that. It is a piece of work being investigated.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson?
Yeah, kia ora. Angela, I note that there's mention made that there's still a lot of potential for infills when you as opposed to the FDAs. But the comment was sort of fairly dismissive, saying it was all too difficult. And I just wonder if there's thought has been given either here or now or in the district plan to incentivise infills, because you know, the peri-urban growth is going to be increasingly frowned on, I think.
Yes, I'll jump in there, Angela. Hi, Chris. Yes, the Joint Committee is looking at the density for infill development, whether ideally it would be good to increase that if it's tolerable to the general public or the people in the community. There may be areas where neighbours don't mind more development going in. At this stage, the operative plan is the one that we're having to deal with the resource consent applications under, and people who are existing in neighbourhoods arguably have an expectation that the existing district plan may be enforced even if it is out of date. So we're caught in a kind of a bind between wanting to say yes to developers and needing to run a process which enables people to have their say on the operative plan rules. And it's a bit of a challenge, but trying to work through that sensibly.
If I could just follow up then, Peter, just if I can recollect that at the moment we allow people with sections in the empty sections in the town which haven't got any construction on them to be rated as if they were rural. And I mean, it seems that would be an incentive if we rated them as being, you know, the same as other properties. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I think some of the future development area properties may still be rated as rural if they're vacant, but I'm not certain about what applies in residential areas. I think that should be a question for David Paris, possibly.
Yeah, I'm sure it is so, but yeah.
Councillor Holmes, and then to your worship, David.
Oh, this is to David, actually, David Hopman. David, I noticed that we're talking about infill now, but I'm aware of some places that they had one house on and they've developed, and now there's two houses going behind it. So that one house might have had three people in it. The new houses, you might end up with 9 on that one section. Is the infrastructure in town, the old infrastructure in town, big enough to handle those sorts of developments?
Your mic's not on, David. Your mic's not on, David. Can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. Now we can. Yeah.
Sorry, I'd lost my screen. No, where we've had infill in the town to date, we haven't had issues there. We've done some upgrades of sewer and water lines. We've had reduction of those. The challenge will be the larger developments on the edges of town. Those will, and we are looking at that as part of the district plan on infrastructure upgrades required to service areas outside the town.
You think, and the other question, David, and this is probably more to do with the combined council, there's a lot of areas being developed into lifestyle blocks and that adjacent to the town. I'm really concerned that there's a lot of good country that's food producing is going into housing, and I'm talking about around Te Ore and things like that. Is the combined council, are they looking at that throughout the Wairarapa? Just it might be more to Fraser and Tina, actually.
Oh, well, actually, Angela can answer that because that's
okay.
very
Thank
much part of the district plan discussion.
Thank you.
Angela?
Yeah, sure. David, look, we're still at the time of mapping it out and checking in with the different infrastructure engineers again at the moment of what areas are going to be most suitable for putting on as a development area in the new plan. But it's definitely in the mix and is being looked at right as we speak.
Thank you.
We'll go to your worship and then we'll go to you, Chris.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up again about the infill housing. And is this something we've taken the financial contributions through to get those sorted out now? Is this something that we should be looking at to do now rather than waiting later? Should we not have done this proposed plan change with the financial contributions? Because we know that there are a lot of developers who want to do infill, but are constrained a little bit by the size of the land, etc., under our current rules. So is that something that the joint committee have looked at?
It's in the scope as it stands to be looked at further. We do need to do quite a little bit of work to make sure we could manage it in that plan change or not. But we want to test it and see if we can.
There are the main problem or the pinch point for Masterton District Council is the funds available for the road asset upgrading in the existing areas that aren't future development areas around the edge of town, like Gordon Street and Kitchener Street, and also the Chamberlain Road upgrade. That's although that's part of the future development area, and what this council has definitely signalled to the joint committee that it would prefer the financial contribution segment of the plan review to be bumped up in priority, and that was the last report that went through to the joint committee. I think Carterton District Council probably agrees with us. South Wairarapa District Council may be a little bit slower on getting their information together.
Just following up on that, Chair, I understand that, Peter, that's the financial contribution side of it. It's the infill side of it. There's a lot of pressure from and a lot of willingness of developers to do some further infill housing. And if our current operative plan doesn't allow for it, is that not something that we should be looking at? That was just my question, and I understand.
Yeah, yes,
Angela,
definitely. Yeah, definitely. We should be looking at increasing the or decreasing the lot size, the permissible lot size for subdivision, and this should be done preferably in conjunction with an advanced financial contribution review. Absolutely, totally on board, 100% with you there.
Okay, Councillor Peterson.
Yes, while naturally you won't be surprised that I'm all for encouraging infill housing, there was perhaps a cautionary note just in the newspaper this morning, in the media this morning, where considering that the NEWA report about the climate projections and the warming for the East Coast, and particularly for Masterton, and the heat island effect that you can offset it with trees, has just been made mandatory in Sydney and over there and in the state, that all houses to be built will have to have room to grow a tree, and also that they will have to have reflective roofs, not black roofs.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I'll move then the recommendation that the Infrastructure and Services Committee notes the contents of the report. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Holmes, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, everybody. We'll move on to page 431, which is the Community Facilities and Activities Infrastructure Update. I'll take the report.
Sorry, excuse me, Bex. I've had a query from the Times Age if they could be sent the link to this Zoom meeting, given we haven't been able to organise a streaming. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, so we'll move to the Community Facilities and Activities Update. I'll take the report as read and then go to you, Corin, for any points that you'd like to raise.
Cool. Just to note some extra information really for the committee, especially pertinent with lockdown. The library's been doing a very good trade on skinny jumps. We've had 12 new sign-ups since we've gone into lockdown. So this is getting that connections out into the community. And we've got another 4 people waiting where they're just checking the validity of their applications, which is done through the Spark Skinny Jump. So that's obviously just great news in terms of what the library is able to do in terms of supporting the community at this time.
Awesome, thank you. Over to questions. Who has questions of Corin? Councillor Peterson?
Corin, I can't quite remember the context, but I just read it in the last few days that there's a small town over near Martin, I think, or somewhere, where there's been a provider over there that has provided free internet for the town. And they've done it in conjunction with Inspire, that firm in Palmerston North. And it may be worth looking into. I mean, I just remember glancing at the article.
Cool. I'll hunt that out, Chris, and see what I can find out about it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Nelson?
Thanks, Bex. Just on page 433 with the Te Hokai Nuku positive ageing strategy, I mentioned in the meeting about the Blue Zones ageing report. Has that ever been followed up on? Because a lot of the stuff that might be being done through this, which looks really good when I read that content, has also been covered by Blue Zones ageing strategy, and it's incredibly valid and relevant information. So I think whoever's looking into this, it would definitely be worth looking into Blue Zones and what they're doing. It's a very reputable organisation, an international organisation.
Thanks for that, Tim. I'll talk with Lisa about that. She's the positive ageing strategy coordinator, and see what she knows about it, but also make connection to find out more.
Cool. And just Corin, thank you for that feedback about the library with the skinny jump. It's been used extensively by families in my own school community.
Awesome, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? No? Okay. I will move that the recommendation that the Infrastructure and Services Committee notes the contents of the report. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Peterson, thank you. All those in favour, please raise your right hand. Against? Carried. Thank you. Now we'll move on to page 439, which is the infrastructure update. And I'll hand over to David Hopman to present this. David.
Yes, so I'll take the report as read. Highlights in there are we've got a report from our Zero Waste Advisor just on the education program and some of the initiatives that's been happening. And there's also a summary of the projects where we are. Highlighted issues really there are the Columbo Road Bridge replacement, which we are expecting confirmation funding next month once the Waka Kotahi is confirmed where it's sitting. We'll report back next month on where that's sitting. And just the water meters project that was it has been impacted by the resources or competition for resources in the area. We're 86% complete in installing the meters. Still got a wee way to go to finish those, and obviously a lot of those meters are the trickier meters to put in. But we have started sending out advisory letters where we're getting leak alarms out of our new meters, out of our commissioned meters. When you have a small leak that doesn't stop, that's continuous for 24 hours, we get a little signal alarm. We've started sending letters out to people, just advising them that they do have a leak and that they should look at it. We have put a hold on those at the moment because there's not a lot we can do about it in level 4. But once we're out of this, we will be sending more letters out. So that's the report. I'm open to questions.
Councillor Ryan, and then Councillor Peterson. Can't hear you, Sandy.
I'm just going to speak. I was letting you finish. David, I was pleased to see that the Opaki Road, Oxford Street situation is being looked at, because that seems to have deteriorated recently. I mean, in rain, it's been, over the highway, hasn't it, some days?
Yes, we've had some very intense rainfall periods, and when we have those intense events, we do have water coming over the highway. That will be addressed by it's an upgrade of that sewer system, stormwater system down that road, and it will also the part of the issue is water is crossing the road into First Street. This will address that as well.
Councillor Peterson. Oh, Sandy, do you?
I was just going to say, was it impacting on the houses immediately below on the northern side of Oxford Street when that happened?
No, it was generally going down the road, but there was water everywhere. So we need to actually get this contained, and that's what this solution is going to do.
Okay, Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, I'd just like to suggest that I think there'd be value if we were able to have a sort of a workshop or a round table involving our zero waste coordinator and with this zero waste educator. I mean, I think it's they're good reports that we get from time to time, but it'd be really nice to be able to flesh out and discuss things that are happening there, because waste is going to be an increasingly important function of councils as we move towards the circular economy.
Councillor Holmes.
I was just to David. I was just wondering, David, the Henley Lake consent, that seems to have dragged on a little bit. Are we any closer to it? And also, I just wondered about the Opaki Water Race one as well. But the Henley Lake one seems to have dragged on for a while. Is there a hold up or?
Yes, we're working through cultural assessment implications or discussion. There is that's basically where we are at the moment, making sure that we get those issues resolved. We are following the proposed consent conditions, so and we're managing the lake to them, but we haven't actually landed that consent yet. So I accept that it has taken a while. And sorry, your other.
I just the Opaki Water Race.
Yes, again, we're in discussion with regional council. We are committed to closing that race over a 5-year period. We don't believe we need a lot of hydrological, environmental impact assessments. They come at a big price.
Yeah.
So we're just discussing the best way to answer GW's questions about the environmental impacts of this short term and actually making it a reasonable cost for the users there.
Yeah.
So yes, that is it's an ongoing discussion as well.
And David,
and that doesn't change our commitment to closing that race.
I'm aware of that. David, just Henley Lake is, I have to say, the lake with the amount of water that's going in, it's superb at the moment. And biggest downfall of the lake at the moment, it's got to be the geese and ducks.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. We have geese problems in a lot of places.
Thank you,
David. Councillor Nelson.
Thank you. Just in response to Councillor Peterson's comment about the Zero Waste Initiative program, it's not often that the council gets widely applauded for a program, and you look at this one, it's got 99% of teachers rating it as exceptional. So this is something that is exceptional. It would be great to see it continue well into this year. I've seen it still happening this year, but ongoing, because so many short-term initiatives in schools are great while they happen. And I know this was the school's responsibility as well, but if this program could follow up with more visits from the same organisation, say every 6 months, I think you'll see real benefits to a program like this, apart from just that short-term boost. So if that could happen, that would be fantastic. And we often talk about the need to educate, and this is a program that definitely does educate. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Councillor Peterson.
And just following on from Tim there, if those programs are going to be ensured to be ongoing, then they need to have a higher profile amongst councillors. You know, we need to know, you know, what's involved and how efficacious they are. And it just comes to me now that of course was just the sort of discussions and knowledge sharing and awareness raising that used to be possible when we had environment committees and other like committees. Were able to have that kororo that around the table, but there doesn't seem to be the opportunity for that anymore.
Are there any other questions of David? I just had a question, David. How are your conversation progressing with Solway Showgrounds about the dump station?
We have started that conversation. I'm awaiting for some confirmation of some details. So it's a conversation we're having. It was disrupted by lockdown, I believe.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions of David Hopman? Great, thank you.
Rebecca, is Tina still there?
I can't see her on video, but she's still on the
She was going to give an update to you all, but I'll give it on her behalf.
I'm here.
Yes, she's here.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Tina, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yep.
So from this point on, I will not be involved in negotiations, neither will David, or the conversations. And our board member Ian Collier has made contact, or I think Martin has made contact with Ian Collier. So they'll discuss the options going forward. We've got support from the New Zealand Motorhomes Association for that dump station to be made public on the basis that they help fund it for their members, but it's on the AMP Showgrounds, which is a community asset. So they're very supportive of it, and so it's just to make it work for everyone from here on in. And I'm confident that both Martin and Ian will get to that point.
Thanks, Tina. If there are no further questions, I'm happy to move the recommendation that we receive the Infrastructure and Services Committee's report. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Caffel. All those in favour, please raise your right hand. Against? Carried. Thank you. And that's the conclusion of the meeting. We finished at 2:33. Thank you to everyone for your time and patience, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.